Welcome to our SSF quarterly release update on Sage Intacct. This is release 1 of 2023, and we'll just wait a little, maybe a minute here for people to get logged in. I know there's always a little technical challenge or two, so we'll just give it a minute and then we'll get going. Okay, well, that's a minute. So we're going to get going now. And again, if you're just joining, welcome to the SSF Sage Intacct Release 1 webinar for 2023. We are doing these quarterly webinars with every new release and upgrade of Sage Intacct, just to keep our clients informed of the new functionality and features that can affect them and help their productivity and get more out of Sage Intacct. I'm Tom Aker. If you haven't attended our sessions before or worked with us, I have been working with Sage Intacct for about 10 years, coming over from larger ERP systems. I've been super happy with what kinds of functionality we're able to get out of Sage Intacct, and more functionality every quarter. It's been a super cool journey with Sage Intacct. And with me today, I've got Michael Sudbury.
Yes, I'm Michael Sudbury, Senior Systems Implementation Specialist with Sensiba San Filippo. I've been with Sage Intacct for a long time, both as the end user and then also as the implementer. So it's always interesting to see the things that Sage continues to roll out. And with this new release, we have a lot of juicy features that we've been waiting on for a while now.
So today we're going to cover a little bit about the Sage Intacct releases, just to refresh that. And then we're going to talk about some of our favorite highlights for our clients, the AP automation update, which is a couple of features that are now in general availability. We're going to talk about vendor payment enhancements, the enhanced list view, which is now in public beta, the move to Sage University, and some enhancements on the projects module, as well as subscription-based businesses in the contracts module.
So if you're not familiar with Sage Intacct releases, these are releases that are generated every single quarter. So everyone's always on the same version. You don't have to do anything to get these releases. Past the release date, these changes will be made live to the system for everyone. Now, you may ask, like, what's a release look like? So these are feature updates that Sage are putting in place. And with this release, it will be live February 17th. So very close. Now, I also do want to mention that some new release features will just be live in the system, but there are some new changes that may require new permissions or configurations. So be on the lookout for that as well. Did you have something you wanted to say, Tom?
Oh, no, I was just saying it's coming right up tomorrow night. The new release comes out. So, you know, we want to be ready for that.
Yep, very timely.
So one of the things that we have been eagerly waiting for the last couple of quarters is for the Sage Intacct AP automation to be released into general availability. It's been in a early adopter status for, I think, 3 quarters, maybe 2 quarters. It seems like we've been waiting forever, but we're going to take a look at that today. The ability to receive bills from vendors via email or scan or drag and drop or whatever you've got to get it into the system, and then Sage Intacct automation will pick it up and create that bill for you. So we're going to take a look at that right now, actually. And I'm going to switch to sharing here. Let's see. Are you seeing my Intacct screen?
We are, Tom.
Okay, thanks. It doesn't have the usual box around it. So one thing when the AP automation is first turned on, there is this configuration in configure accounts payable. And you can see that there's bill automation settings here. And they're already pre-configured. You don't actually need to do anything, but you can change the configuration if you want to. Now, over in the bills list, there are a couple of things that are new. One is that there's now a standard draft bills view in the list. So if I change that, you can see I don't currently have any draft bills. And then when I click this, there's a refresh button and an upload button now. And when I click the upload button, you can see that now I have a window that gives me some options for bringing some bills in through upload. I can pick which entity or location I'm bringing that bill into, and I can decide whether I want a single bill or all line items associated with the bill. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just grab a bill template from my samples here, and I'm going to just drag that in here. And you can see that it's 100% loaded as an image right now. And I can put as many in here at a time as I want to. I can also receive bills via, again, dedicated email addresses that are pre-set up, but you can change them in that configuration I was just showing you. So when I click create bills here, I'm going to hit refresh. You can see that it is currently analyzing that bill that I just brought in. And it just takes a very short time to refresh that and get the data in here. And then it will create and code the bill according to the AI's best guess at how that particular vendor and bill should be coded. And it is taking a little extra time here. Hey, tell you what, let's have Michael show you a couple things and then we'll come back to this one. How about that?
All right. So along the lines of talking about AP still, we have some enhancements coming out to vendor payments powered by CSI. So now you're going to be able to add email address remittances specific to the vendor. So you're going to be able to choose, the correct email addresses for your payments to notify them of payments being made. If you're not familiar with vendor payments powered by CSI, this is a tool within Intacct that you'll be able to pay directly out of Intacct. So this is sort of a third-party connector, but it does operate within the system. When you go to pay a bill, one of the bill payment methods is CSI, vendor payments by CSI. And the way that works is your vendor can choose how they want to be paid. So whenever you set up a vendor in CSI, they would get an email saying that this is the payment processor that you use, and your vendor would be able to go sign up and enter their ACH information, or if they wanted to receive a check, they would be able to select that as well. So that's just a seamless way to have a lot of your processes within Intacct, is that you'd be able to have those bills in there, and then also payments directly from the system as well.
Yeah, a couple of things about the CSI payments. It is, as Michael said, it's native right there in the Sage Intacct system. At this time, we can pay US vendors in US dollars, and we can pay companies by ACH. But we're hoping that CSI will have the payment to individuals through ACH in a release this year.
And Tom, did you want to go back to yours now?
Yeah, sure. It's ready to go here. Michael, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, so the first bill that I dragged in there, number 793, has been analyzed and drafted. You can see that it's in draft state here. I dragged in another one here that it's currently doing an analyzing on. But I can just go in here and I can edit this bill. And you'll see that it's got the bill all coded, and it has chosen the correct vendor based on the label of the bill. And let me just show you what the bill looks like in our great new side-by-side view here. So you can see the bill that I dragged in here. So Sage Intacct recognized that it's ADP based on the fact that it says ADP, and it also charged the amount of the total for that invoice to software and licenses because that's what it says here. Now, of course, that's pretty basic understanding for the AI, but over time, as you're bringing in the same vendors and items and line items, it will get continually smarter through machine learning and get this coding more accurate. But that's what you're able to do right now. And then, of course, you can edit this bill as needed and go ahead and submit it or post it, depending on what your permissions are. And we're super excited about this. We do have, other AP automation partners that have a lot of functionality, but this is some basic stuff that we're glad to see native in Sage Intacct. And by the way, the pricing currently is 50 cents to scan a bill. So when you think about some big bills or high output, that can be a big savings for a busy AP department.
Yeah, and that's a feature we've been looking forward to for quite some time. So it's great to see that rolled out into the system. Also, one thing to mention is not only can you do these bills through attachments, you can also define an email address. So if you have an AP email address, that can be used to ingest those bills as well. And those would be brought in and posted in draft state too. Let me go ahead and my screen. And I'll pick up where we left off. And we'll go right back into another demo. So now we have a new enhanced list view within Sage Intacct. This was in beta for a while. Now we have it on the vendor tab. So we will take a look at this. And I'll go ahead and share my other screen.
So many screens.
Right, keeping track of them. All right, so Tom, are we seeing the list view?
We are.
Great. So as you can see here, this looks a little bit different than a standard list. And I can actually turn off beta and we can go back to see what you're used to seeing with a list view. So lists are great. It's a way to see a lot of different information and data across here. And you can go in and create your custom views, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. But this new beta list view is going to give us even more expanded functionality. And I really like how it operates. It's a little more dynamic. So you can see here, we have all of the columns across the top here. So one thing I want to do is configure columns. So let me go ahead and add some more. Now, adding columns are as simple as going to your settings, your little gear icon there, and going in and selecting more values. So it operates, if you're used to the custom report writer, it's a little bit like that, in which if you want to see one of these values, you just click on it and you will have a new column. So I'm going to do this. Just select a few and I will apply. So now we have those added on to expand our list view. So one other thing that's kind of annoying is like, sure, I have this big long list, but maybe I'm interested in seeing vendor name and vendor ID the whole time. We can also go into a column and freeze the columns. So now I can have vendor ID, vendor name, and scroll to the different values that are within my list. So that's very nice as well. We still retain all the filtering. So you can do all the filtering and sorting just the same as you used to be in the old list. You can also save these views. So I can save this view as a custom view and pull that in here as well. So that's very helpful. One thing that is also neat is we have this view right here, where if I change this, we're going to get the vendor ID and the name, and then I can go in and see it side by side with the details. So if I need to make any edits to a vendor, we have this side by side where I can drill down into my vendors and then also edit or view any information as well. So I could go back here. And then one of Tom's favorite features is we're also able now to expand the column length, which
That's
is
so
very,
cool.
very welcome, because it's just really, kind of annoying when you're just getting the first half of things. So being able to select our column length in the list view is huge. And I really like this feature. I really also enjoy using lists to get to some information, because for things like vendors and clients, it can almost be a report. There's a lot of information behind there that you can get to. So very welcome new changes, and I really like this layout as well. Do you have anything you think you want to add to this, Tom?
Oh yeah, Michael, what if I want to see the vendor name first and then the vendor ID?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, now that is as simple as dragging and dropping. So you don't have to go back in and edit your view. You can just change this around and drag and drop however you please. So also another very welcome change.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've actually in the regular list view tried to drag and expand a column. It's so nice that it actually does something now instead of just dragging my cursor around.
Exactly. So this is another instance of just, Intacct really being in tune with the customer and expanding the product based on our needs. So it's very cool to see.
And you can see there's a feedback button there. This is only available right now on the vendor list, but they are moving that to, it'll be in general release, but by all means, test it out in beta and give them feedback on what you like or want to see.
Yeah, and I believe the intention is that most lists go this way, correct, Tom? This is
Yeah,
the way of the list going forward.
right. So if you've been keeping your track of your Intacct learning in the Sage Intacct Learning Center, it is now moving over to Sage University. So a new platform, but you'll be able to bring along your transcripts, if you will, just like going from high school, bring them along to Sage University with you. And you'll do that by logging into the Sage Intacct Learning Center. Michael, were we going to show that?
I'll show the link towards the end of the presentation.
Okay, great. So yeah, there's new paths, new learning paths, so that you can better track what you need for your job. And there's easier access and earlier access to complementary training in the system. And then of course, you can access your learning records and make sure that you're keeping track of any certificates of completion you might need for your job.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad Sage is retaining all of my learning credits. So that is great. And also, I do really like the new layout of Sage University. So hopefully you will as well. So we do have some enhancements to the project. So now we have the ability to see the transaction state of billable invoice lines in preview. So if you're generating invoices from project, that's a very interesting step. You want to make sure you are very detailed in what you're selecting to bill and generate invoices. So that's going to give us some greater insight there and help with our project related billing. We also have new expanded permissions for project manager users. So you can now basically have expanded features in order entry. So that really helps someone who has a project manager user license. They can now transact with quote and order entry templates. So really the full cycle of that project. So that is a very welcome enhancement as well.
Yeah, that's going to be great for our clients that have project managers or field managers who are going out and creating bids on a project in the field, and they can just create that quote right there in order entry without having to be a full business user.
Yes, and then we also have some subscription-based business enhancements as well. So for those using contract, we have the ability now to model different billing plans without affecting the subledger. So you're actually able to go in and test what your billing would look like before actually having to, submit that and define that. We also have clearer guidelines for project configurations in the contract journal. And then also we can now include variable usage charges in open-ended or evergreen subscriptions. So you're actually able to include that as well. So that's another area of the system that they just continue to expand on. So anyone using contract, we continue to see a lot of great releases every quarter with that.
Yeah, and if you're currently not using contracts, but you think you're, close to it and you have this kind of subscription-based business, by all means, reach out to us and we'll help you assess whether contracts is the next step for you. Michael, are you doing the recap here?
I believe it's you, Tom.
Oh, okay. So we've covered today the AP automation updates, both in, primarily the very exciting new invoice upload and email. We talked about some enhancements on the vendor payments by CSI. Michael showed us that exciting new enhanced list view, which is currently in beta on the vendor table. And we talked about moving over to Sage University. Michael shared some enhancements on the projects module and, of course, the subscription-based businesses that are using the contracts module.
And I can take this one, Tom. So
okay,
this is by no means the full release. We like to bring to you what we find very interesting and would relate to most people with some of the features that we want to go over. But once again, by no means every new feature. So we'll look at how to view that here in just a second. So you want to go back and look at all of these release notes and releases. How do you do that? So I will go ahead and share my screen, my other screen. And there we go. So right on your home screen, Sage will let you know when we do have new releases coming out, and then some of the highlights relating to it. So you can see here we have a link to the release notes right on your home screen. And this first tab will be, a lot of the highlights that they choose. So you'll be able to see a high level of some of the features that are coming out, but then also we have within that each of the modules. So if I'm concerned with new releases with accounts payable, you can see here we have all of those. Accounts receivable, same thing. And a lot of these will have embedded within them videos as well. So you can go into detail with a lot of these. So let's see, announcing availability of AP automation. And then if I went into here, like automate bill entry. Well, actually, I should have picked the videos on AP automation. There you go. You'd be able to watch videos of these new release features as well. Some other things to note, other resources here. We scroll down to the bottom, we have resources right on your home screen. So if you need to get into the Intacct Help Center, you can do so here. The Intacct community here as well. We can also get to the release notes here. And then the Learning Center. So this is a link that may change in the future, but it still links to the old Learning Center. So if I use my credentials to log in, it will look rather barren, so there's no data found. But we do have a link to access Sage University. So if I click that, it will put me where I need to be, and you would be able to create your new Sage account. So if you haven't already, you will need to create a Sage account to access Sage U, or if you have, you can log in from here as well. So that will be one thing to look out for. And then I believe it's a link with your email. So
right.
If you have your old credentials and your credits, sorry, for your learning credits, they will track over when you create this new Sage account.
Very cool.
My other screen. So we've covered, the fun things on your homepage, how to access the full release notes and dig in there and see everything that is coming out new. Also how to access the Sage Intacct community and also now Sage U. And then also just want to let you know, these are quarterly releases. We do have a timeline for all these new features to be coming out. So year release 1 this year, February 17th. And then also we have the calendar here. We'll have a release May 12th, August 18th, and November 10th.
Right, so be looking for us to have our next quarterly release webinar right around May, 15, something like that. Hope that these tips today have been helpful and that you've seen some functionality that's going to make your job more enjoyable and efficient. And if there's anything that you wanted to ask about or consider adding to your current configuration, by all means, just reach out to Michael or me. And you can see we've got our contact info there, and you will be receiving a copy of our slides today. So on behalf of everybody at Sensiba San Filippo and Michael, I'd like to thank you again for coming to our preview, and have a great day.